Welcome to the Comeback Code, the podcast that explores the power of resilience, determination, and comeback stories. Hosted by myself, Justin Grassfield. This show is inspiring individuals who have faced incredible challenges and through their unwavering perseverance and willpower have managed to rise above their circumstances and achieve greatness. Whether you're looking for motivation, health advice, and just an uplifting story, the Comeback Code has got you covered. So get ready to be inspired because it's time to unlock the secrets of the comeback and unleash your own potential. This is the Comeback Code. Welcome, Nick. I'm excited to talk to you and get to know you a little bit better on a more personal level and hear about your experiences.
Thanks, man. Thank you for having me, Justin. I really appreciate you taking the time to allow me to tell my story.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I've heard you've been through a lot of things and moments in your life have been ups and downs, and I'd love to hear kind of like your life story and where you've came from and how you got to where you are today.
Oh man, my life story. All right. So back in ancient days where there were three sons. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. I was born like 84 over in Maryland, moved over to Greece for a couple years, got hit by a car, then moved to America. Like any normal childhood, of course. Um, spent most of my life in Jersey, and in the last couple years moved to New York City, and that's basically the cliff notes of just like where I've been in terms of living places. I also spent time down in Arizona. I've traveled most of Western Europe. So I like to call myself a sophisticated traveler. Um, let's see. But in regards to like my struggles and what I've been through, uh, for most of my life, I was like overweight. And because of that, I dealt with a lot of like childhood struggles, like getting made fun of, getting bullied, not being able to make a lot of friends, and just kind of like living that lonely outcast life. Um, it's not to say my childhood was bad, but in spite of like all the opportunities I got from my parents, for which I am extremely lucky for, and I owe them basically my life for that. It was tough in the social sense and in the fact that I developed a lot of self-hate for who I was and my body, and just like feeling like I'm not worthy or anything like that. So, my brother had lost a lot of weight, and it was kind of inspiring to me because he was very overweight, and the fact that he lost over 100 pounds inspired me to do that myself. But, the way I did it was like, I signed up for a gym and then I became a good little cardio bunny like everyone wanted me to. And I lost about 100 pounds, but I was also like, how like at the end of the world's biggest loser, they weigh themselves and they all look like big sacks of skin, right?
Yeah, totally. I've definitely seen that many times.
Yeah, so that was me. A big old sack of like floppy skin, just flopping around and shit. It was quite disgusting and it made me hate myself more. So I basically, gave up. I was like, screw this. This isn't for me. I'm never going to have a good body. Then that led to binge eating, gaining the weight back. Oh no, I want to be skinny again. Yo yo, back and forth. Then I had gotten cancer, and that was back in 2012. And that was like another weight loss phase for me because cancer eats you alive, basically. and it was a bit of an ordeal, but it's not like I got anything like life-changing or inspiring out of it. That came much later for me in my life, where I looked back and was just like, "Oh, wait a minute, I conquered cancer. That's actually a big deal for some reason." And I went through that and went through another yo-yo phase because after cancer, I had gained weight back again, and I was close to 290 pounds. Was not happy. My graduation photos looked like shit from graduating college, and I was just tired of it. I woke up one day, I was like, I got to do something about this. And that's where I found weight training, and through that I got a personal trainer, and he introduced me to all the Mind Pump products, and basically I found Spartan races through him as well, and I got so addicted to Spartan races. Like, it was really fun to go through all that, just like horrible torture. It really is just you bodily torture you put yourself through, going through barbed wires and carrying heavy buckets and getting into the mud and the gunk and the blood, and it's so fun. But all of those experiences, just like conquering challenge after challenge, and it really helped me realize that there are a lot of people out there who are struggling and who want to face these challenges, even if they don't know it consciously. Because human nature is wrought with conflict, and we have to expose ourselves to that conflict in order to grow as people. So it became my mission, after having gone through what I consider to be a very difficult period, is I want to help other people get up off their couches, get into shape, get out onto uh the race trail, and just like conquer those obstacles. Because once you cross that finish line, once you jump over that fire, there's no better feeling in the world than the fact that you did something that was incredibly hard and that you had to fight for.
Well, that's incredible, man. And sorry about my dog barking in the background. I think someone rang the doorbell. But I would love to hear um like you've been dealing through all these things from school and all, like, just self-confidence, and to the point where you'd beaten cancer and you're still so negative on yourself that you couldn't
Mm.
get past that and say that I accomplished things. So I would love to hear more on your perception of how you get out of that mindset where you can't even see anything past because you're just struggling so much internally.
Yeah, so self-hate was something that I struggled with for most of my life. There are still times where I still struggle with self-talk as well, but for the most part today I have it handled. It's just this visceral feeling of like you're not good enough. You're never going to be good enough. Like no matter what you try, what you do, you're always going to fall short. Success isn't meant for me, and you're just going to live this miserable little life and be okay with, the lot you're given. And it's so insidious, and so heavily does it rest upon your shoulders, that it's very difficult to see the way out. And even through cancer, just like I was kind of like resigned. I was just like, well, if the cancer does kill me, well, at least, I won't have to deal with this shit, or like, all of these negative thoughts. So it wasn't easy. And even coming out of that, because I had gained weight again after cancer, those negative thoughts were just like really beating on me. Like, oh, you're alive now, so now you get to be fat again and miserable and lonely and forever alone. And when you're faced with that kind of reality, it becomes really hard to want to do anything about it. Um, and I was lucky enough to have some friends who actually gave a shit and who were really just trying to dig me out of that, like encouraging me to come on these trips and like hiking and all of that and going out to parties. They really just, it was basically like that image of like extroverts carrying around introverts. Not that I am an introvert by any means, but it was just kind of like they had to really drag me out of my shell because I just had this prevailing thought of, you know, I'm not good enough. And when I was told, like, try weight training, try lifting heavy things because then you're going to feel strong and just find out what that feels like for you. Like being told that and going through that was really what started to help. Because after finding a personal trainer, he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, it looks like you could use some help." I was like, "Yeah, sure." And through that, he kind of helped me get the hang of everything, proper form, all that. And I started to see results. I started to feel strong. I started to look in the mirror and not hate what I saw. And it took a little while. It was very slow because, results are slow as well. And it took a lot of like, encouragement from my personal trainer to be like, "Hey, the scale says you went up, but how are your measurements today? How do your clothes feel? How do you feel?" And when answering those questions, he was all like, "Yeah, it's kind of as if the scale doesn't matter, right?" And just being coached through that and being exposed to this new way of thinking, it was just kind of like, wow, hold on a second. So I'm experiencing these awesome changes, and even though like the scale is being a bit wonky, I still feel good. So, my coach told me focus on those things and nothing else. Focus on getting stronger, focus on how your clothes feel. And eventually, bit by bit, the hate started to go away. And I started feeling proud. I started feeling uh what's the word? Really good about myself. And the mindset slowly shifted into you can't really accomplish anything to, hey, you got this. You can probably maybe do this. And wouldn't it be awesome if you could? And then it morphed after that in after I started doing Spartan races into holy shit, I kick ass. So it's a very gradual change, but that change comes with action, and it comes with having someone there to support you and talk you through those dark moments. I couldn't do it alone. I think a lot of people think that these are demons you have to fight alone, and I don't think that's the case. Having someone on your side, having someone in your corner is so ridiculously important to this whole journey that if I didn't have my personal trainer with me at my side throughout the beginning, I wouldn't be here right now.
That's incredible, man. Like I can feel the emotion in your words and how much it's been a struggle for you and all the moments that you've dealt with. And I think you really connect to a lot of people out there because a lot of people feel like that. And as time goes, even if you have some friends in high school, you tend to lose those over the years and you find less and
Mm,
less. And it was lucky that you had some friends that kept trying to get you out of the house and give you motivation because I know from personal experience and stuff is when you get into that depressed mood, you don't want to see anyone, you don't want to let anyone know how you're doing. It's kind of like that Facebook, like you want to make sure there's pictures up there that look really good, but you don't want anyone to see how you are in real life. And
mm.
like when I was going through like my brain infection and everything, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't talk to my family. I just pretty much closed in and put all that stress on my wife. And it wasn't very good. And I just think that your story is so inspiring to overcome cancer. You overcome all the bullying in school, overcome the self-doubt and finding ways. And I don't think we ever overcome and like completely leave that because it's part of our identity. And we
Mm.
really sometimes fall back into that. But it's amazing to see that you found a way to deal with it and then also help other people deal with this in similar manner. Um, how do you help other people? Because I know you coach and help others, and how do you use your experience to teach others how to get better and help themselves?
Well, first I want to say like, yeah, it's incredibly difficult and a lot of people are in a bad spot and need someone. And if, talking to your audience, if you are listening and you feel that you're in a really dark place and you feel stuck and you can't get out, reach out to someone, reach out to anyone, because believe it or not, they give a shit. So I got my degree in psychology and I nerd out on like neuroscience and human behavior and how people interact with each other, like what makes good relationships and just like the science of communication and all that. So having that kind of background and experience, I like to utilize that in my coaching because quite honestly, I tend to put on my therapist hat a lot when I'm coaching because it's not just about nutrition and fitness and exercise. That's a part of it. Getting yourself active is important. Eating the right foods and fueling yourself properly is quite important. But I find that your mindset and the way you think and the way that you frame your beliefs and what's going on around you is just as important. And to be able to talk about that kind of stuff, to work through that is incredibly important to me. I have one client who is bipolar, and when I started with her, she was in a really bad place. She was incredibly overweight. She hated the way she looks. She was like very upset with a lot of the way her life was and just she was in a bad place, like mentally, not just physically. And so my big thing was not just helping her tweak small things in her diet, but also just like being there to be a sounding board for her, to let her vent and, you know, say shit that she probably never hears from anyone. Like, yeah, that is hard. Yeah, that does suck to have to go through. Yeah, guess what? Your feelings are valid. And to be able to have someone say that can be immeasurably powerful. So I always make sure that my clients are in a good headspace. And if they're not, to let them talk about what's going on and to let them know, hey, it might be a shitty week. You might have not achieved like your nutrition milestones or whatever, but guess what? That's fine. Let's work on this thing and let's like talk through what's going on with your job or with your family that you really need to talk to, because that's more important. You know, you're a human being, and being able to talk about the shit is incredibly helpful, I find, for my clients.
Yeah, I think that people don't really have a weight problem. They mostly have like a problem with themselves and like self-doubt, and sometimes they almost punish themselves into gaining weight, and they justify it by their circumstances, and they really struggle internally, and then it ends up being an external force after. But at the moment when it all really started, is it could have been just simply bullying, and you came home and you started to eat a lot and just to deal with the stress, and there's all these underlying factors that we could get you to lose weight, but if we don't fix the main issue, then you're just going to keep gaining more and more and more, or you lose it and then it comes back. And it's a really amazing to have people in your life and people like you and your friends that helped you and how you help others. I think it's really important what we do because a lot of people are too scared to reach out to people. They don't want to read. And when you actually get to listen to them and hear what they think, and it like unlocks like a piece of them that they're missing, like they've locked up in a little key hole and they're
Mhm.
just doing so. it's it's amazing. So is there any practices that you do to try to get over those mental hurdles that you deal with?
Ooh, I mean, it mostly comes down for me to that I basically um I like to meditate a lot, and I like to basically tell myself like, you've been through a lot of hard shit. Like I have over here on this wall like just rows of medals that I've gotten from my Spartan races, and I also have like the Spartan code in a metal poster up here. So like looking up and seeing that, it's like a reminder of everything I've been through. And whenever I'm really down, I look at myself in the mirror, I look at myself in the eye, and I just talk myself through what's going on. I don't lie to myself. I am very candid with myself, and I basically ask, all right, we're going through this right now. Who do we have to become to get through this? And I think that's very important because we are constantly evolving as people, spiritually, mentally, physically. And it can either be growth or recidivation. And when we ask ourselves, who do we have to become to achieve something? It kind of lights something up in the brain. It allows us to envision the path forward, like kind of thinking through the process of how we change and evolve. Like, who do I need to be to get podium in a Spartan race? Because I've never done that before. And the person I need to become is someone who really enjoys to run, and someone who is not afraid to put in the grueling hard work, and who's not afraid of late nights and sacrificing the things I love in order to achieve that. So that's who I'm in the process of becoming. Now, whether or not I actually get podium, I could care less about. That is like a goal for sure. But what's more important to me is the progress that I'm making, the measurable progress. That's like, all right, I was doing 2 pull-ups a week ago. Now I can do 4. That's progress. I did a 10-minute mile last month, and now I'm doing a 9-minute mile. That's progress. Each little step is making me a different person, because the person I am today is not going to be able to achieve the shit I'm going to be able to achieve a month from now, a week from now.
Yeah. It's like every single day that you change one thing, the next day you're not that same person anymore. And you've
Mm,
evolved and changed, and you can either choose to have that 1% to be good or that 1% to be bad, and you have to try to focus towards what you really want to accomplish. And I really like how you're focused on small goals that really set you up for feeling like you're winning all the time, because a lot of time people that are with these chronic illnesses or overweight or whatnot, they pick this goal of losing, like you wanted, like 100 pounds, and they put that on the pedestal. Well, one day goes by and you haven't lost 100 pounds, and you may have lost a couple pounds. Who knows? But you
mm,
didn't get that goal, so technically in your head you feel like you failed. So day after day you feel like you're failing, and you're not getting any progress and wins, even though you may be just shredding the weight down. You have this giant goal that's not achievable at the moment. So it's really important to specify small little goals and work towards that. Like I was talking to another coach, and he was saying how he does get a little jar, and every one of the day you put a coin in. And so you see all the success you had in the day. You see all the wins. Because if you're not focusing on the wins, you pretty much just focus on those negatives. And then next thing your mindset completely changes in negative, because you have like 50,000 thoughts a day. And if they're
mm.
constantly the same and you're not looking for the good, it just spirals out of control. And I think that's what a lot of us do.
Yeah, and also you got to realize, like, small changes aren't bad. Like, people will freak out over, like, oh, I only lost half a pound this week. Oh, I can only lose half a pound every week. What's wrong with me? Guess what? Losing half a pound every week means you lose 30 pounds at the end of the year. I don't know anyone who wouldn't be happy with being 30 pounds lighter at the end of a year. A lot of people friggin' wish they could do that. So your like half a pound, oh no, is like just another small piece of what it takes to get to that ultimate goal. It's what creates momentum. It's that point 0.5 plus point 0.5 plus point 0.5, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So, like, I always tell my clients is, you only lose if you quit. So don't quit. Just keep moving forward one step at a time. That's all you need to focus on, is the next step. And when you do that, well, you're going to be looking back and being like, wow, why'd I ever complain about where I started? Look how far I've made it, because you're not focusing on the big goal. You're just focusing on what is the next step right in front of you.
Yeah, and it's crazy to see like the weight loss and everything. Because when I was going through like I lost like 80 or more pounds. I didn't go on a scale for a long time because I was embarrassed. But as I was going, I hit like 230, and I could not make that budge. But I took measurements every week, and before I even lost 1 pound, I'd lost 14 inches between just like the chest, the belly, the waist, butt. I'd lost 14 inches without holding the same weight. Didn't change at
Damn.
all. I was just, I was like getting really depressed. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, but it takes time, and um, I look at the photos sometimes, and I see my first photo, and I'm just the uh, the disappointment in myself to like when I got to 230. I just got the biggest smile. I'm just so happy that
Mm,
I'm there and just seeing the difference. So I think you really have to just take that step of moving forward and continue the momentum. And even if you don't see the scale moving, a lot of time your body is changing. It's always adapting. And just because you don't notice it, like I don't notice my hair growing. I look in the mirror every day and it looks the
Yeah,
same to
right.
me. But if you look a month down the road, I might have not had a beard the other day. Like, so
It's amazing how much that changes. Like you wake up one day, where'd that sexy beard come from?
exactly. So it's it's amazing to look back on the journey, but the first step is getting your foot out the door and finding help, finding support. And there's a lot of people out here that have went through many different things. It could be weight gain, it could be cancer, it could be um, a brain infection, all these different things. It's but in our community, there's not very many people, but in a broad, like across the internet, there's thousands and thousands of us that have went through this, and you can connect with people and talk and really get out of that slump of feeling
Mhm.
depressed and possibly suicidal like I was, and like feeling the world is getting crushed, but it really isn't. And there's all these people that want to help and want to be there for you. So I think it's really important to just take that first step and reach out to someone, and they'll help you get on your journey. I'm
Mm.
really glad that someone helped you on yours. And what would my one of my final things I want to ask you is, what is like a moment that clicked for you that changed everything? Like I'd love to hear that moment where you went from to start the journey to feel like you're worth fighting for again.
Uh, I can't really say that there was one definitive moment. It was just a whole bunch of little, smaller ones. There was no big aha moment for me. Um, it was just like going through like the bullying and then the cancer and then the self-hate and then going through all of that and then overcoming each one bit by bit. And just it was an evolution. It was very small. It was propelled by each small event growing into one big one that was just like that kind of got me to where I am. So it's honestly like a difficult question for me to answer. And I can't really say that there was a definitive moment again. I just feel like while there are some people that do have that definitive moment, which is fantastic, not having one is also okay because you don't need to have some gigantic life-changing inspiration to get you to do something that's good for you. I think that if you slowly come around and just keep like getting that 0.1% better and slowly just like um not accept your situation, but kind of acknowledge that you are where you are and ask yourself, do I want to change this? If yes, all right, what's the easiest thing I can do to get me to where I want to be? Or if you don't know where you want to be, what's the easiest thing that I can do right now to get me out of the situation I'm in? And start with that. It could be as simple as calling a friend. It could be as simple as just like looking online for a personal trainer. You don't have to sign up. You could just browse and look. It's taking the smallest step to just overcome your current situation, and it doesn't need to be this big thing. So yeah, that was a long-winded and obstreperous approach to saying, I don't know.
I absolutely love that though, because it gives a different perspective than some people have heard. Because a lot of times when they hear on these motivational things, it's like they go from this to this, and there's no in between and no clarity for this. And I'll think a lot of people go through what you went as it's like a slow drop in the bucket of little thing after little thing, and eventually it builds up to this giant bucket full of water and it falls over,
Mm.
and that's when your journey starts and you really start to take off. And it's just the small wins and changing 1% every single day that really builds to a change.
Yeah.
I had the opposite of, I just wanted to walk again, and just I was like,
Mm.
I gotta, I have this life that I need to because I was scared I might die any day. So I'm like, it was this or it was give up or not. And it's good to get another opinion and see how someone else's life is changed by using that and seeing the differences, because it's, we're all unique and we're all different, and there's got 1,000 different things that are going to happen to us, and everything is going to, the worst event in your life is going to feel just as bad as the worst event in everyone else's life. It might
Mm.
have been um you just getting cut off in the highway and maybe getting a car accident or something, or it could be cancer or anything. But in that moment, you're gonna feel like shit. You're gonna feel depressed, and we're all dealing with these same emotions, and we all have to figure out a way to deal with them. And don't ever downplay how you feel by how the scenario is, and don't judge on someone else because something else was harder, or someone else's was easier, because they're all unique and we all deserve to feel loved and reach out to people. And a lot of time we get compressed in this little bubble of ourselves and we don't reach out because you're scared. So
Mm.
I love your story, all your
Thank you,
journey and
man.
everything. And last thing would be, what would be maybe some books you suggest to read or podcasts that you helped you along the way?
Well, first, I want to thank you for justifying the tantrums I had when my parents wouldn't let me get Ninja Turtle figurines when I was a kid. Um, but there are so many books, man. Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson, and the sequel to that, which is called Everything is Fucked, a book about hope. Those are the two on the top of my reading list because they just have such profound, thought-provoking narratives, and it really makes you think and challenge your beliefs. Shout out to Mark Manson for that. Um, I also read a lot of Dr. John Gottman, who is a relationship expert. He can basically predict to a 92% accuracy whether a couple will divorce in the next 5 years, which blows my freaking mind. Then let's see. There's one book I'm actually reading right now by Richard Diaz. This is more for like if you're training for an obstacle course or something hard. It's called Training the Dark Side. And I love it because I'm a Star Wars nerd and I just get to say the dark side all the time. What other books? I mean, there are so many out there that are really helpful, and I would just encourage people to just read because there can be no amount of information out there that would be too much information. And some books jive more with other people. One more. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It is about how to hone your skills in negotiation. He used to be the head of the hostage negotiation team in the FBI. And it's just like really illuminates how to talk to people, how to influence them, how to basically negotiate your way through life, because every conversation you have is a negotiation at some level. So being able to learn the skills to master that so that you have conversations and negotiations with people that benefit you both. And I just cannot recommend that book enough as well. So to recap, Mark Manson's books, Subtle Art and Everything is Fucked. Um, Chris Voss's Never Split the Difference, and Dr. John Gottman's books. His first one was Seven Principles of What Makes Marriage Work. So those four books I would recommend.
That's awesome. I really
I am
appreciate
so
that.
long-winded. Damn.
Hey, it's all good. We gotta all talk and get it out, and it's really nice to hear other opinions and people are
Mm.
listening. So can't argue with that. So I appreciate you coming on, Nick. If we want to try to find you somewhere, where would we find you?
So I'm on Facebook at Nick Yalamas. That's Yalamas. And I'm also on Instagram at Coach Nick _NYC.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and probably bring you on another time sometime. And I look forward to chatting with you more. And hopefully you have a great rest of your night.